Hey folks, Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin, and I'm going to do another edition of Rapid Fire where women's wrestling is going to be discussed. Now, I want to take a moment to say that there was a couple pictures that I received from a post that somebody retweeted, and it was about alleged comments made by Karen Jarrett at Ringside with Jim Ross. Apparently, she was asked about her thoughts on the women's revolution in wrestling, and she stumbled around for a minute. And then she said she may not be the best person to ask about this topic because, in her opinion, women should not be in equal standing as men in the wrestling business. She also added that women had no place on the sidelines as sports commentators either. Now, if that's true, and I'm just going to say if that's true, because I heard from a few people that were at the show that I heard from a couple people it did happen, I heard from a couple people it didn't happen. So, if it didn't happen, then okay, whatever. It's not the first time I would have heard that, especially from some people, people in general that don't see women's wrestling as very good, no matter how good the women's wrestling is. If it is true, Karen Jarrett, how dare you? You see this guy behind here, Kurt? He's the only reason you got in the wrestling business because you have no charisma and no ability and no presence on TV. And the fact that you're on TV now just means that you found and gold dug another guy. Who was a made-card champion at best. Now, I don't hate Jeff Jarrett, but the fact that he was ever a world champion is pretty ridiculous because WCW was faltering at that point. And when he got into when he did TNA, Impact Wrestling, NWA TNA, becoming the multi-time champion that he did, it was just a vanity project because that's what he did. Now, if Karen really did make these comments, that is ridiculous because women's wrestling is the great. And how dare you, Karen, if you actually made these comments? That is just slapping everybody in the face from all the way back from Moolah, Judy Grable, all these women, all the way up to Trish Stratus, Lita, all the way to the current women that are in WWE in your company Impact or in the company you're working in, Impact Wrestling. And, people like Veda Scott and others and people and women in Japan and that kind of stuff. So many women have worked hard, so if you did say these comments, if this is actually true, that is ridiculous. Karen, how dare you? And how dare you even, say, like, women can't, shouldn't be in equal standing with the men in the wrestling business. Because a lot of women are a lot tougher and a lot better wrestlers than your husband ever was. But again, this is based solely on if, she actually said it. Though Karen Jarrett always struck me as I'm just going to say it, a toxic bitch. I mean, she did. I don't think her playing that bitchy character when she was paired with Kurt Angle, especially in 07 and even 08, I don't think that was a long stretch for her. I don't think that was hard for her. If her and Jeff are happy, great, but I just have no desire to see her on my TV, and if these comments are true, it's a slap in the face, and I brought a few women's shirts that I have with me. It's a slap in the face to a few women, like Asuka, who's a great Japanese women's wrestler, like Natty, who, related to the famous Harts, part of the Hart family tree, much better family than you married into, Karen, as far as, your husband and his father, and also Becky Lynch, who was world traveled and worked really hard to get where she is. Women like Rosemary and Allie and there are a few others. Sienna, I'm sure have all worked hard. I'm not too familiar with their backstories, but it all seems like they worked very hard to get where they were at. And also I want to take a moment to comment on how people said, the women's revolution, WWE is the greatest thing ever. So Karen, by the way, if you did make these comments, okay, whatever. If you did, fuck you, Karen Jarrett, get the fuck off TV. How dare you exist on TV, not in general. She made these comments. Not like she killed somebody, so I don't want her to go away, I don't want her to leave this earth. I just don't want her on TV if she made these comments because as a woman, she should be helping empower women who have given her the chance to be on TV even though she doesn't deserve it. Even if she didn't make these comments, she doesn't deserve to be on TV anyway because she has no charisma. But for those that think, because these comments in general have echoed what a lot of people have said that, women's wrestling, it's better than ever, WWE's doing this and this. While Impact Wrestling is in a bad state, let's just be honest, it's a rebuilding state. There's still some good women that are working hard, and some good talents in general that are working hard. In 2007, Gail Kim and Jacqueline had a great match at Lockdown 2007. 6 months after that, they created the Knockouts division. Gail Kim was first ever Knockouts champion. Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong. Angelina Love, not the biggest fan of her, but she did work hard. Velvet Sky, less so because she still can't wrestle much despite having wrestled since at least 2005. How can you still be that bad? Is it the fuzzy boots? Is it the fact that you let the pigeons loose and, wrap your lips around the rope? That's pretty disgusting. Why do you do that? So many women that worked hard. Gail Kim, Awesome Kong, Roxy Laveau. Roxy Laveau's often forgotten about. She's retired from wrestling, but there are so many women that worked so hard for years in Impact Wrestling to make the Knockouts division better. Mickie James came over from WWE. Victoria, Tara. You can't see her because the head's cut off, at least in the shot that I'm using. But her, I got a Rebel banner over there. A lot of women, whether they were greatly skilled or not, worked hard to make the Impact Wrestling Knockouts roster the best women's division in all of wrestling. And one could argue, at least as far as mainstream wrestling, that they did. Lucha Underground's had some good women's wrestling. The few women that they have, Sexy Star, Ivelisse, and that kind of stuff. But comments like this, whether it was Karen Jarrett, the dumb moron that she is, and that's an oxymoron, that's a double negative, but where it was this moron saying it, or whether it was another moron saying it. Women's wrestling belongs, on the biggest stage that it can be. Now, that being said, I'm just going to say this. Will the women ever main event WrestleMania? Will they ever? Ever is a long time. I don't think so. That's not saying that the women don't work hard and with the right story shouldn't get the chance to main event it. They will probably never main event a Royal Rumble, because the Royal Rumble match should always main event that, a WrestleMania, or even a Survivor Series. A SummerSlam? Maybe. Because SummerSlam, I think, could have the really right build. But to say that anybody that says that women are not in equal standing with men, come on. That's undercutting what every woman has done in wrestling. That is ridiculous. That is unbelievably fucking ridiculous. Anybody, how dare you say that? You want to get in the ring and try that stuff? Look, I've been critical of some women that have tried to get in the ring and have not been any good. Eva Marie, at least you tried. You landed on your knees like the pro that you are. Sable was an embarrassment to women's wrestling. Could not do anything. China revolutionized what women's wrestling could be, or at least how you perceive women. I'm not saying she was a great wrestler, but she did change the perception of how a woman could carry herself in the ring. And a lot of women, for years before China and up past that, and so many women, across all wrestling companies, have worked so hard and still work so hard. Veda Scott's one of my favorites. And I hope she gets a chance in WWE. Because she's got the look, she's got the sex appeal, she's got the ability, she can cut a good promo. And there are others, there are plenty of others. I wish Awesome Kong would get a chance, but I don't know if she is still in the wrestling business or not. There are plenty of women that I want to see get a chance across all platforms. Even in Impact, I wish Impact Wrestling would rebuild its divisions, and hopefully they can. Hopefully Anthem Sports stops leaking the poison from the Hardys lawsuit and doesn't poison the whole damn company. Even though they kind of already have, because they're losing some talents, and even the talents that they're bringing in, you're like, okay, these are projects, this is going to take a while. Get Grado and Shira off TV. But then again, they can't because they got a presence in India and they got to keep Shira on TV. He's horrible. And Grado, he may be popular in the UK, horrible on US TV. But back to the women. Women deserve the biggest platform they can get. If they work hard, and by the way, a lot of the women work hard and wrestle better than your husband, Karen. Especially if you said these comments, yeah, your husband, not exactly the best wrestler in the world. He wouldn't even be top 50, in my opinion, of all time. That's not to say he didn't have good feuds. But yeah, there's so many women that just get slapped in the face by comments like this, whether it was Karen or anybody. Ridiculous. Let the women get out there and tear it up. WrestleMania did it to a degree, but it was a loaded card, and it kind of smushed women's matches, in between a whole bunch of weird stuff. Still, at least they got 2 matches on the main show. Impact needs to rebuild its brand, rebuild its Knockouts division, and get it back at least close to what it was in even 2009. If you do that, then guess what? Women's wrestling can be equal to the men, because the Knockouts division was producing some of the best segments and the highest rated segments for a number of years. A number of months, a number of years in Impact Wrestling. and they couldn't, and oh no, but women shouldn't be doing that. Women aren't equal to the men. Well, the women were working hard and having to get other jobs because they weren't being paid well, while some guys were sitting on guaranteed contracts and just sitting down there and doing nothing. Booker T, Kevin Nash, people like that. Nash was too often injured, and Booker T didn't care. But I just hate this. I just hate this. If Karen made these comments, screw you, Karen, get the hell off TV. Get the hell off TV anyway, but if you didn't, whatever. Somebody says stuff like this every day and often. You can joke if you want. I mean, I joke a lot. I make a lot of jokes that I probably shouldn't make on my videos and on Twitter, but guess what? That's for fun. That's jokes. I think that women's wrestling is hitting a major peak. I wish that Impact Wrestling still had the talent pool they had in 2007, because they really did start the women's revolution. When WWE has some good talents, but was putting the belt on people like Candice Michelle, or later in 2011 putting it on Kelly Kelly. Sorry, I mean, look, I don't hate Kelly Kelly, but I just would never put the belt on her. And having her beat Beth Phoenix, that was a stupid idea. Impact was producing great segments. Yeah, okay, they kind of watered down the knockouts after a bit, but for a peak couple years, they had some great talents. Taylor Wilde's forgotten about. Sarita. Just so many good women. And saying comments like this. Again, it may have not been Karen. If it was, horrible. Horrible, especially by her. Especially in a position of power that she doesn't deserve. But if she didn't, somebody did. And that someone, or that minority, or that majority of people that want to say that, you want to get in there and try and tell these women that? No. So guess what? Women's wrestling should be here to stay. Hopefully it continues to, rise and rise and rise. In WWE, in Ring of Honor, hopefully maybe they can get some women's wrestling going there. New Japan, Lucha Underground. Well, Japan. I don't know if New Japan does it, but I know Japan has women's wrestling, and some damn good women's wrestling. And also, just Impact. Hopefully Impact can rebuild itself. Because I want to see the women get a chance to succeed and show that they can do everything the men can do, and sometimes better. Peak. Because quite frankly, some of the guys kind of coast. A lot. And actually, a lot of the women are really over with the crowds. Unlike Roman Reigns. Anyway, that's it. So, do you agree? Do you disagree with what I said? Like, share, comment, subscribe. Twitter link is in the description. Spend Real Honesty with John Rittland. I'm John Rittland. And for those of you that don't think that women's wrestling is equal to the men's, fuck you. How dare you? Don't ever reproduce.